You're listening to BK Presents on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Hello, everyone. My name is BK International Talent Scout. I'm bringing a brand new show to you called BK Presents. 30 minutes, nonstop, your favorite in gospel music. Studio sessions, going deep into interviews with your favorite artists, producers, and their engineers. You and your music. Concert previews and concert reviews. Get it all on bkpresents.com. We have a couple of announcements before we get into the show. The Call to Consciousness Museum is back and is opening on February 14th. To go to calltoconsciousness.world for details, times, and tickets. Also, you can help Rainier Avenue Radio by donating to Rainier Avenue Radio. You can also go to rainieravenuradio.world/donate. Any amount is good. $20, $30, $40, $50, $100. Even if you have $500 or $1,000, please donate to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. All right, getting into the show today, I'm interviewing one of my good friends, Dr. Tali Haiston, who is a part of the Nehemiah Project in Seattle, Washington. Come on up, Tali, and introduce yourself to the Rainier Avenue community. Tali,
Hey,
my
man.
boy!
What's going down?
going on? Let's check your mic. How you doing, Tali?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, if you can speak up a little more, kind of project.
Okay.
We want to hear everything you got to say today.
All right. Here I am. Hey, it's nice to be with you. It's good to be with you.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get into this, you are an avid Seattle Mariners fan. We almost made it to the World Series. What you got to say about that?
It was a great season, right? We had a lot of fun. Love the Mariners since the Kingdom, right? King Griffey Jr., Alvin Davis, right? So This was a great season, and enjoyed every minute of it. And we were so close.
Yeah, we were close. I was holding on till the last swing. Okay,
Yep.
Man, let's get into, if somebody said, who is Dr. Tali Haiston, who grew up in Seattle, a part of the church community? What college did you go to?
I'm a graduate of the University of Washington, right? Public school, Seattle Public Schools, Asa Mercer Middle School, got bussed out to Ingram High School back in the day.
30th, right?
Right. I'm a Ram, man. I'm a Ram. State championship football team. Played with a lot of cats in the neighborhood growing up. Didn't live too far from.
The championship?
We won state, man. My junior year, we won state. Come on now. You got to take us. I don't want to take us back too far, but yeah, we won state.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about how you became Dr. Tali Haiston and how you got involved with the Nehemiah Project. Now, I can give you some background. I was going into Whole Foods. I ran into Don King. We talked for 30 minutes about the Nehemiah Project. He said, I'm going to get you in touch with Tali, and he's going to do an interview. So here we are. We had to go through some changes because of baseball season, but we got you live right here.
We're here, yeah.
How did you get involved with the Nehemiah Project?
So I'm a community developer. I spent most of my time building doing faith-based community development, Christian community development, both locally, nationally, and internationally, and have done that work. I started the John Perkins Community Development Center at Seattle Pacific University was my first major work. Did that for 17 years. Took some time off and developed several other faith-based development projects. One called the Learning Congregations Initiative, or Thriving Congregations Initiative is another name for it. But I kind of pivoted after I finished my PhD program and wanted to continue doing some more Christian community development or faith-based development work. And someone reached out to me and said, hey, with your experience, you may be able to help the Nehemiah Initiative. And this Nehemiah Initiative really is about sacred land and home ownership and the church. And I put those three together because out of my own story, I mean, if you want to get real, growing up in the church in Seattle, right? Growing up in the church in Seattle, the Black church in Seattle,
right?
I watched my family give faithfully an offering, love the church, be there all the time. And then one day we lost the building. And so I wanted to make sure if I had a chance to help congregations secure their own property, build ministry, and utilize the land in ways that connect public theology of use of land and stewardship of their ministry together.
Yes.
And put in housing, because gentrification and displacement of our people is still a thing in 2026. Like
2026.
I had to jump on. So yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some of your success stories of the Nehemiah Project. Can you give us some examples where you came into a congregation, worked with the pastor, and you guys were able to do something great for the community, surround housing and community centers?
Sure. The Nehemiah Housing is 7 years old, literally 7 years old. It's been an organization for 4 years. Right. And in that 4 years, because housing is hugely complex and takes time, most of our projects are what we call in the pipeline. So when we came into I'll just start with the first project Nehemiah ever did, which is Goodwill Baptist Church's development project, where they are now in that phase of having a developer, receiving funding, and moving forward. They recently received $5 million to produce 34 units on their campus in the Central Seattle community, and that will allow for our community to own property, to stay close to their church, to be in the community with each other, building the story and narrative and on the legacy of our people. Like that's the first success story, is Goodwill Baptist Church. Since then, we've developed several more opportunities where we partner with a local congregation to have that conversation around strategic ministry development. Where's your congregation going? How is it that we can walk alongside of you? And do you have any interest? Are you discerning any interest or move of God on your leadership and congregation to utilize your land, your property in a different way than what you have done in the past? And that is the first conversation we've had. We've had conversations with up to 8 to 10 congregations so far. We have 6 projects in a pipeline, what we call our pipeline, at different levels of their own growth and development. And it's been really exciting to watch congregations sit together, think together, process together, discern together, pray together about how God is using them to utilize the land towards home ownership instead of selling to a developer
outside of our community that don't look like us.
Don't want nothing to do with us.
Don't think like us.
And there's the story. Once you sell to a developer, your story is gone. Story and place go together. So once you sell to a developer who's not concerned with your story and that place and the things that God has done in that community, it's gone. And what we found was the power of being able to keep community in a place with the story, right? We in Nehemiah can do that, but a developer had no interest in doing that.
Now, you want to hear about something crazy that happened today? I was on the 48 going across
48. I ain't heard that. He said he was on the 48. Come on, bro.
Back.
That's right.
Going north on 23rd and Union, I'm looking to the right. Mount Calvary is gone, level, like it was never there. And I'm like, man, my heart kind of hurt. Now, the cool thing about Mount Calvary, Emerald City Seventh-day Adventist Church is allowing them to have service in their church because Seventh-day Adventists have church on Saturday, so Reggie can use the church on Sunday. But Mount Calvary's gone. I mean, no sign of the building.
Like the
It's
physical
just
building's
like,
gone, but Bishop Witherspoon is continuing on right at the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, what I want to ask you, because you've been doing this work for 17 years, can you tell us some of the great success stories about land development in churches in other cities so people can get a vision of what it's supposed to be like at its top tier?
I feel you. So I started with Nehemiah a year ago. I've been doing development, community development work, Christian community development work since 1998. Since
Wow.
1998. So I've been doing this a
Wow,
while, right?
that's a long time,
That's
bro.
a long time.
That's a long time.
Right. So one of the things I found was internationally, folks that look like us were talking about land all the time. But when I came to my neighborhood, we were talking about, in terms of the Black church, we weren't talking about land. We were talking about building, but not land. And so the kind of, aha moment for me, and this comes through a success story, right, is that conversation that I had with a local pastor. There were two pastors, and their congregations are side by side, and they're different denominations. They look like us, and they're literally on the same block.
What?
And we had this conversation about what is God doing, right? Not what has God done, because we know that already, but what is going to happen in the future with this land and with this property and with these ministries. And let me tell you, a powerful opportunity was created before I came to Nehemiah with Donald King as an architect, a world-renowned architect in our own neighborhood, who just received the Mountaintop Award at the MLK Prayer Breakfast on this week. And Donald envisioned something called Nehemiah Studios. And that's where congregations and the University of Washington collaborate to create a course, fall quarter course, where they're with architectural students, engineering students, real estate students for a quarter. And we sat together in the UW Commons in the Rainier Valley, and a room full of students who have spent the whole quarter working on what could happen with these properties. Pastors and deacons sat in the room, and we were there from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and we heard everything. And at the end of that quarter, and at the end of that session, or the final session with the students, vision, ministry opportunity, revenue opportunity, sacred land, utilizing that land towards homeownership happened. And now those congregations are on a path to think together, discern together, pray together, but also collectively act towards resisting displacement, but also building economic mobility for the church and its people. So we're expanding ministry beyond Sunday morning. We're expanding it beyond tutoring, right? Besides exactly Wednesday night Bible study.
There's 2 days a week people have church. Sunday and Wednesday, or Sunday and Thursday.
What's the future of the church? The church facility.
Right.
What is the future of the Black church facility? And that's what we stepped into. Exactly. We could think completely different about how the Black church facility as a physical building on land could move, look, and occupy space. and do so in a way that collectively is transformative. And that's what got me excited about joining Nehemiah, was these kind of stories, right? These
Because
opportunities.
church should be vibrant. It shouldn't just be 2 days a week. The building and the surrounding area should be used 7 days a week for business, community. Hey, let's talk about community empowerment. Uh, how does the Nehemiah Initiative ignite and infuse community empowerment and community involvement around the church land?
Right. So, whenever a developer comes in, let's say, a church sells their property for whatever amount of money, the developer comes in and starts this process of, hey, we want to build 38 townhomes in your neighborhood. They don't ask the neighborhood. They don't bring the community together to find out what the project should be named. They don't consider that the community may want something a little different than what the developer wants. So Nehemiah said, what we need to, as it is in the scripture around Nehemiah, we need to bring the people together and to talk to the people about what is it they want to see. And so what we added to this process was not only is it discernment of the local church and the local leadership, it is also bringing the community together in ways that church has not been able to do, or has done, but not about housing. Do you see what I'm saying? Right. So what we started to say was, let's do community engagement and community outreach, and let's build some listening sessions and some cafes, and let's bring people together around what you want to see happen. Right. And let's envision with the community together. Then when it's built and it's complete, the whole community can celebrate. Right. Because we have done it together.
Wow, that's good.
But developers are not going to ask you that question.
Let's get to something tough. What's your ultimate challenge when you're trying to talk to churches, you're talking to community? How do you hurdle over your challenges, Dr. Tali?
That's a great question. I think there are a lot of challenges we face. The cost of housing. We face I call it the Sunday school mentality in church, right? We've Sunday school is sacred, right? But when I say, Sunday school was created about 1954. It didn't exist in Jesus's day. You can actually do something different. And I think that's a hurdle. That kind of mentality is something we work over and try and work with more than work over. But to try and work with that mentality is tough to do. The lack of young people in the church is a challenge, right? Our churches need our young people because those young families are the ones who are looking for housing. Right. My children, my oldest is 28 and cannot afford to live in the city of Seattle. Can't afford to live next to the church. Can't afford to live. And how many of our congregations are in places where the property values have shot through the roof and we can't live in the neighborhood? Pastors can't live in their own neighborhoods where their churches are. Those are macro level barriers to our mission, right? They're large, big challenges that we've got to work around. So what that requires is we have to raise a lot of money, right? Because the congregations don't have $400,000 sitting in the bank. And this is a lot of times why they think selling will work. It'll give them $1 million or give them however much money. But the church doesn't exist to be a bank account. The church exists to do ministry. And sometimes the thing we're working over is the financial reality of a congregation as something we have to work through as well. And those are just a few of the challenges that we face on a weekly basis. Everything from the deacon doesn't want to do this to financially it's going to cost a lot of money and we've got to raise a lot of money to help congregations work through this, right? So for instance, we're considering something like $7.5 million of funds that need to be raised just in our region to address a small portion of the problem, which means ultimately we're talking about, $20 million. That's a lot of money in our community to raise. It's a lot of money to process and to build relationships for and to create a structure that can facilitate those dollars going to the development of our sacred spaces.
Let me ask you this question. You're talking about finances. Say you're working with $20 million, $40 million. What does that look like at the end? I mean, sometimes what happens, we read in the paper, this group gets 5 million, 10 million. Let's just take a round number. Let's say, hypothetically, you get $40 million. What can you do with that, and what does it look like? Because a lot of times what happens, you might get money from government, from county, but by the time the project comes, you'd be like, where did all the money go? So tell us what you could do with $40 million.
So I have a great board. I have a great support system. I have a team, right? And we think together. We think collaboratively. I pull in folks who are better thinkers on finance and lawyers and the bank, the credit union. Like all those people are at the table. When you're talking about that much money, it's not something that I'm sitting in my office figuring out how to spend $40 million. No, it's just absolutely not going to happen, right? What do we do? What kind of things do we do with that amount of money? Well, we get asked on a regular basis if we're interested in purchasing a church that is closing. The property is closing, right? As more people find out about Nehemiah, they're actually sending that email or calling or texting through a friend who said, hey, so and so pastor of such and such a church that church is aged out and the congregation is down to a few people and they want to sell the property and move on and possibly close the building, close the church. And instead of that church feeling like they have failed, when really their mission has been accomplished, we see reseeding their ministry into the land, right? So we want to purchase that land with the idea that ministry is reseeding for a new season. And every time they drive by that neighborhood, they're going to see affordable home ownership for communities that have been displaced, gentrified, right? There goes another Whole Foods. There goes another PCC market in their neighborhood where it used to be a church. Okay. And we want to stop that. We are not interested, right, in purchasing land for another co-op. Let somebody else do that. Our interest is using that 40 million or whatever it is to help congregations that are currently in the process of using their land to build home ownership in the community. So what we call pre-development services. So that could cost up to $150,000.
Okay.
Right? To do that process of feasibility studies and engineering studies, geotech surveys, all of those things have to happen for the congregation to move. But no, our congregations don't sit around with $100,000 in the bank that they just feel like they want to spend on in this way. So what we've been able to do is work with a community of organizations who do that work of pre-development services funding. And we work with them to get those resources and to allow the church to move forward. And we walk alongside the church, right? That very pastoral way to walk alongside the church to say, here's a lawyer you might need, right? Here's the finance person you might need. Here's the team of folks that we're working with that can help you envision this project. I went to seminary. They don't have a class on real estate development. They don't have a class on financing a $2.5 million project. They don't, right? So what I realized was, and most of my ministry has been about supporting the church, the Black church, the church period, the kingdom work, right? Of supporting and walking alongside church leaders and church ministries and congregations. And in walking alongside congregations, one of the things I know is they don't teach you this stuff in seminary. So you need to be able to utilize resources, $150,000, $50,000, whatever it is, to help a congregation find the right people to talk to, find the right trusted individuals that they can work with. So many of our congregations end up working with people who they can't trust. And I'm from here. I'm from the neighborhood. I'm from the community. I'm from the church. I'm from the Black church. And the last thing I'm trying to do is see the Black church not have a legacy from my grandchildren. That's not our interest. Our interest is to see the church exist in different ways into the future. So if a congregation wants to build a community center on the first floor, townhomes on the top floor, they're worshiping, like you said, Monday to Sunday and Wednesday. They got the choir rehearsal on Friday, got the youth program on Saturday. All the time, they have gained revenue from the purchase and sale of these, the sale and purchase of the townhomes that's above the church. They collect parking fees. They collect parking fees because we have structured it so that the parking lot is used as a revenue source. Or as one congregation said, we're going to move our learning center that's run by a third party, over to this new property that we're building. They're going to take the first floor. So you have a Montessori school in the first floor and townhomes on the top floor. That allows for the congregation to continue to gain those resources. At the same time, there are other congregations that are done. They have just said, we have finished our ministry. God has called us to move on, and we're moving on. Can we sell you the property? That's what the $40 million goes for.
Wow, we ran out of time. We got to bring you back in a month. This is good.
Let's do it.
Thank you for being a part of the show. We want to bring you back. We might want to bring you into the studio live. Dr. Tali live at Rainier Avenue Radio.
Let's do it. I didn't even get a chance to take my text. I was about to preach. Just give me a minute.
Hey, you can come preach live. This was good. I'm glad you had a hard time to share your story. So, hey, I've spent 30 minutes with Reverend Dr. Tali talking about the Nehemiah Project. We're going to bring him back in about a month or two and see what the progress is about. Hey, this is BK TalentScout. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Seattle, for checking out the show with BK Presents on Rainier Avenue Radio. It's been our pleasure. But listen, we want to connect with you. Maybe you have some takeaways from the show that you would like to let us know about. You can do that in two ways. You can go on Twitter and follow us at BK Presents, or email us bkpresents@gmail.com. Once again, that's bkpresents@gmail.com.